Hey, it's Justin Cantor here. I thought it'd be fun to share with you some of my favorite album covers. These are mostly from the 80s. There's one each from the 70s, the 90s, and the 2000s. And I didn't study up for this, and I didn't scour my whole collection, but I did go through a lot of my records and chose 10, and I'm simply going to present them in alphabetical order and try to talk a little bit about each one. In most cases, these are ones that the music within holds special relevance to me as well, although there are cases where the art is especially wondrous, so it just can't be left out, but there are so many more. But here's the 10 that I chose. This is a 1987 album by Terri Gonzalez. She's the co-writer of the disco classic Caught Up in a One Night Love Affair, recorded by Inner Life, co-written with Patrick Adams. Terri had some dance hits of her own in the early 80s, such as Treat Yourself to My Love and How Good It Is. This was her first, and so far only, full-length album released. It's called Is There Rockin' in This House? And the gentleman that you see with the hat on next to her, this is Terri there, of course, Nile Rodgers. And he produced this album with the exception of one track. Terri and Nile wrote a lot of the material on here. She had sung backup on some other records produced by him in the years prior, leading up to this, by Grace Jones and Sheena Easton, that one being Magic of Love. The picture on this album cover is actually from the set of the music video to the title cut, which is There Rockin' in This House? And that song actually took a long time to really, I don't know if I want to say grow on me, but just for me to really get it, because for a long time I didn't understand why that was the lead single. But over the years it's really come to hold special appeal for me. But I think the first cut on the album, called Love Promises, which was actually the second single, is my favorite. You can see that on my YouTube channel here. Terri wrote that herself, and unfortunately didn't get much promotion, but it's really cool, as are songs like In a Big Way and A Boy Like You. Those have expert production by Nile, and Terri really shows her range as a vocalist. Most of her prior records to this, which included Singing with the Times and We the People, had her singing in more of the alto range and a deeper tone. On this album, she even remarked to me when I met her for an interview in 2000, which is the reason for the autograph here. She just mentioned how high Nile had her singing. And I think that's part of what makes a lot of the songs on here so cool. There's also a beautiful ballad called Let Me Be a Part of Your Life. But I just love this shot because it's such an 80s party scene kind of vibe. And, the video is kind of cool. And I always have wondered who that guy is in the Keith Haring type shirt and skater boy type gear. It's kind of cute. And actually it's funny because the lady standing behind him with the dark hair from a distance kind of looks like Jackie O from Bananarama. There's the back of the album, very simple. Anyway, it's a really good album, and it didn't have any commercial impact, but it's definitely great, musically speaking. This is Jesse Green, Come With Me, and this was his second album from let's see if it was released in 78. It was the follow-up to his album Nice and Slow. Now, if you're not familiar with Jesse, he had quite a bit of success in the UK and throughout Europe with Nice and Slow, Flip, which you can see a performance of here on my channel, and Come With Me, which is the title cut of this album. And also Disco Crazy, which is on this album as well. I believe his real name is Loxley Alfonso Green, and he has since gone to doing reggae music, but he did do pop and R&B records and dance records for several decades. I'm going to share an alternate cover of this in a minute, but this is the back cover. And just so you'll know what I'm talking about. This is a alternate cover. This one is from Canada on a different label, whereas this is from France. And this is the more widely circulated album cover, but this is cool. I mean, I just kind of think it's a really colorful and I guess cute and sexy kind of shot, you know, and the fact that he had a female dancer with him on most of his TV appearances, if you check those out, of Nice and Slow and Flip and even Come With Me. I think this is the lady that accompanied him on some of those. And of course that shot right there, which I'm not sure where it was taken, but just great background there. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of cool that it's taken in a car, but it's very bright and feel good kind of vibe. So check out his music if you haven't, because he is a talented singer and songwriter as well as guitarist, I believe, how he started out. Now, going back into the 80s, the group Imagination, who are revered worldwide for their 80s hits like Just an Illusion, So Good, So Right, Body Talk, Changes, Music and Lights, Flashback, just to name a few. This is, relatively speaking, a later album of the group's. This is kind of after their big group of hits from 81 to 84. This is from 86, Trilogy. And by this point, I think it's safe to say that Lee John, the lead singer, was doing most of the recording as far as the group was concerned. In the front here is Earl Kennedy, the drummer, and in the just looking at backwards, Ashley Ingram in the back. So anyway, but there's definitely kind of a solo feel to a lot of the songs, and even one of the songs on here, Rock Me Slow, was released as a solo single by Lee. But Last Days of Summer is a really great tune on here. And Imagination worked with Jolly and Swain early on, and they went on, of course, to do a lot of work with Bananarama. And this is the back cover, by the way. But they were very, I would say, cutting edge. I mean, I know it was different in the UK at those times than it was in the US, but they were very flamboyant and pushed some of the lines. I don't know if I'd say gender representation, but just their costumes, you know. Honestly, for a long time, I thought that they were a gay group when I was younger and first discovering them, because they're very flamboyant. And I mean, I think to a large degree that was just part of the persona, but I must say I probably still looking at now, crush on Earl Kennedy. He kind of represented the masculine quotient of the group, and I think what I like about this photo in particular is the kind of contrast of each personality in the photo. I think Earl looks rather delicious there, and Lee, great wardrobe, and it kind of complements the texture with the lighting of Ashley. You know, nice pose there of him captured. But you've got The Lovin', Body and Soul, or some other really cool songs on here, as well as Breathless, which was a release, I think, only in Italy. But now we'll go to... Oh, and by the way, that album, unfortunately, was not very commercially successful, but they did have an album after that, during the middle of which Earl left, and that was called Closer, and that had the hit Instinctual, which was very popular in its house remix, and also The Last Time, which is kind of a minor American R&B hit. So a lot of people know a sort of alias I have, Krystol fan. I'm sorry, there's a lot of glare here, so I'm really trying to get it. I hope you can see. Okay, so Krystol consisted originally of Tina Scott, Roberta Steiger, Karen Floyd, and Dee Marie Warren. And both Dee Marie and Roberta had been with Alton McClain as Destiny, which did It Must Be Love, which you can also see a clip of on my channel. Unfortunately, during the recording of this album, which is the group's second, called Talk of the Town, Dee Marie, was killed in a car crash. And as a result, over here in the purple, you'll see Robbie Danzy, who came in and ultimately, following this album, became the sole lead vocalist of the group. Although at this point, on this particular album, Karen, Tina, and Roberta all did lead vocals at different points, and there were, I believe, 5 songs on here, so about half, because there's 9 songs, featuring Dee Marie's vocals, most prominently on the title cut. And Krystol, at this point, was largely produced by Leon Silvers and his camp. So their chart success was limited, but they did have a number of singles out. This album had a remake of Love Is Like an Itch in My Heart, and also a song called The Things That Men Do, which also was kind of notable because at the time it was an R&B song, but there was a rap in the middle by Tina. And, I know we're kind of so used to it now, and even by the time Jody Watley did Friends in 1989, but at this point I would say it wasn't so common that the singers would do their raps in the middle as well. I'm not saying it has never been done before, but it was kind of distinctive at that time. But anyways, there's a lot of cool songs on here, and this was Karen's last album with the group. She went on maternity leave shortly after it was released, and then the group was a trio of Robbie, Tina, and Roberta. But I don't know how well you can see it because of all the glare. I'm really sorry about that. I've been trying different angles the last hour, and I just can't get it with the lighting. But I know some people would say, "Oh, like that's just so garish," but I really like the the busyness and the contrast of this comic book type of background, old timey, and then the very '80s eclectic and a little bit all over the place. I guess you could say fashion stylings. I just think it's fun, and it kind of goes with some of the fun nature of tunes like Shattered Glass, which is one of my favorites, really cool dance tune. It's kind of like a 12-inch mix of a song, but it's not very well known. And there was a reissue of this on CD. I just have to throw in this little plug in 2013, I believe, 2012 maybe. But I did the liner notes for this, and I interviewed all the ladies for that. And you can hear some of my interview with most of them from the previous album, Getting Ready, the reissue that was done for that. So, one of my very favorite male vocalists, certainly the first singer that, as an adult, when I was coming into my own as a vocalist, that I considered my favorite male vocalist for quite a long time. It probably still is. It's a close tie in some ways between him and Glenn Medeiros, but I think Billy takes the cake. Anyway, Billy Ocean, of course, had quite a history by the time he became famous. He started out in the 70s under various monikers such as Scorched Earth and his actual name, Les Charles. But his first big hit was Love Really Hurts Without You in 76, and it did cross over to the United States, but he never really had consistent promotion here in the 70s. And his first top 10 hit in the States was on the R&B chart, and that was Nights Feel Like Getting Down. And that was produced by Nigel Martinez, who produced the album of that name and this follow-up, Inner Feelings, which I was so delighted to have him sign in 2007 when I met him in person at B.B. King's, unfortunately not there anymore, but in New York, when Billy had just returned to the industry and was doing his first shows back in the U.S. after pretty much more than a decade of retirement. And this is another one with an alternate album cover. That was the United States cover. This is the UK cover. So they're both very colorful. This shirt here, quite the potpourri of art on it, and a very happy Billy on both. Well, actually, on this cover, on the other one, more kind of reflective, but you can see that shot is taken and used on the back cover of the U.S. album cover, or vice versa. I don't know which one was actually done first, but not a commercial success. The the single releases from this were Calypso Funkin', which is very much based on Nights Feel Like Getting Down, but with a different twist, and the title cut Inner Feelings, which features Josie James on some female ad-libs. My favorite is actually a B-side called Trying to Get Through to You. I love that song. And Was It You is a really funky, jazzy tune, and No Matter What is a lovely ballad. After this album, Billy significantly changed his style to, I'd say, a more mainstream one. Of course, he went on to great success with the Suddenly album, and Love Zone, and Tear Down These Walls. But at this point, he was definitely doing the funkin' thing, and real soulful funkin', calypso funkin', I guess you could say. But I love it. From '82. Here we have Miss Diana Ross with The Force Behind the Power. I believe I have every album of hers in my collection, which there are many, of course, and she's got a new one coming out soon, so I guess this is apropos. But I just think this is a really cool album cover, and it's a really cool album. It's probably, I think it's safe to say it's my favorite overall of hers. I mean, there's many of her albums that have an array of great tunes on them, but I remember at the time when she was interviewed on Entertainment Tonight and talking about how these were songs that she, I believe, personally chose and that were not geared towards a certain commercial result, but that were just good songs. And I mean, certainly the cover of Blame It on the Sun, the Sarita Wright song, which Sarita wrote with Stevie Wonder, I believe. Heavy Weather, which was later recorded by Carl Anderson. Waiting in the Wings, just probably my very favorite, a really moving song, which is also recorded a little bit later by Lisa Vale. Those are some of my favorites, as well as Battlefield and Change of Heart. I think there was a total between all the different countries of like 7 singles from this, because the title cut, written by Stevie Wonder, Force Behind the Power, was overseas. In the United States, there was When You Tell Me That You Love Me and You're Gonna Love It, which was kind of, I guess, the dance-leaning song, which is remixed, I think, by Steve So Curly. And then One Shining Moment, which is written by Bernice Thomas, and Heart Don't Change My Mind, written by Diane Ward, and earlier recorded by Barbra Streisand and Glenn Medeiros. Those two were singles, as well as Battlefield in Germany. So a lot of just great tunes. And I just love the color. This is from '91. It's just really great art. I really think the photo blends in so nicely with the artwork there. And I love the contrast of sort of the casual, freeform art with, Diana, the regal look. I mean, it's not as fancy as some of the things she's done, but it's just, a classy, simply elegant look. And I think it's really cool with the artwork. So that's why I chose that one. Okay, this one. Oh, it's very special to me. So when I was growing up, I remember on BET, which I watched religiously, seeing the video for We Rock the Beat. And I never knew what happened to them after several years. I think that was the only video that the Sugar Babes had. And then I still remember in the local record shop that I go to as a little kid in 1990, seeing a 45, Stacy and Kamiko. And of course, right away I knew it was Stacy, and Kamiko from the Sugar Babes. And so they had an album called Paradise, which had a top 40 R&B hit called Wait For Me. But anyway, this is Patrice, and she's actually the only one that I've ever had contact with. I don't believe she's on social media anymore, but earlier on in the days of Facebook, this is over a decade ago, I actually corresponded with her a bit, and she was really nice, and really happy that I was such a fan. And it's teen pop. It's produced by Vincent Brandley and Rick Thomas, who did all the New Edition hits at that time. And Here I Go Falling in Love Again is just a lovely ballad, which is, I think, especially popular in the Philippines to some degree. And there's actually I believe, Filipino vocal group called One Voice that redid that like a decade later in '97, I believe. '97 or '98, maybe '99. Anyway, The Perfect Kind of Love was another single, didn't chart though. We Rock the Beat was the only charting one, and they used to show that video on Nick Rocks, if any of you guys remember that, on Nickelodeon. Although the first single was actually I'll Educate You on My Love, which I didn't know till later. So that actually came out in '86 first. And Teenage Holiday, all-time favorite. Just awesome, awesome tune. And You Bring Out the Best of Me is a really joyous one too. Just joyous tunes. Okay, this one, fast forward, this is the only one post 20th century. Sorry, real glare there. Okay, that's better. Well, I have to hold it like a statue to get without the glare. Okay, maybe not. So anyway, one of the better known artists of this group, to some degree. I guess it's a mixture of well known and not so well. There we go. Tank, Force of Nature. This was his debut album with Maybe I Deserve in 2001. What can I say? It's a hunk album cover, and I have a lot of Tank's albums, but I think I have just as many, well, not as many, but almost as many posters, because he's just very handsome and has a lot of sex appeal, and I just think that's a simple and sexy album cover, and that's what they were going for, and they were successful. No bells and whistles, just a great photo. And I have not opened this. I think this is actually, of a lot of these, believe it or not, one of the harder ones to find on vinyl, because I just think at that point, 2001, there were some things that were released on full-length vinyl, but it wasn't certainly in at that point as much, so the pressing was kind of limited. I'm really sorry about that glare. Okay, and the last one, this is a really cool cover, very unique. This is Jane Terry, called So Real, Body on Body. And this is from a very small label called Lovejoy out of Oakland. And interesting note, Thomas McElroy from Foster & McElroy, who did all the In Vogue hits, as well as, of course, part of Club Nouveau and so many other great productions they've done over the years. Don't know where to start. He played on this. And I don't know anything about Jane Terry. I know Tommy, I should say, told me years ago when I asked him that she was kind of a basement artist, which, or a bedroom artist, I think he said. And she just happened to, I guess, be in the right place at the right time and do this album. But there's some pretty cool songs on here that she wrote, and really nice arrangements. One called Don't Give Me Up, or Don't Leave Me. Don't Leave Me. She says both in the song. I always forget what it's called. Why Did I Let Go? Another cool song. But this one is actually, I take it back about the Tank. This is probably the rarest of these, because the pressing was very limited. I don't think there was much distribution probably outside of California, I would imagine. There was one other artist on this label that I know of, which also has a really cool cover named Chaz, which his real name is Charles something, I can't remember. But a similar style illustrated cover, which is also really cool. But yeah, I do love this album cover. There's a couple really good songs on here, and I think the others are fine. They're not ones that are as memorable, but I think they had a unique voice for sure. But I do have to say that this album cover is just very unique, and of course they even have the Lovejoy embedded on there, which is kind of cool. So those are 10 of my favorite album covers, and share some of yours with me, I guess, in the community part here of YouTube. I don't know if you can or not, but maybe we can talk about it, leave comments, and who knows, maybe at some point I'll do another 10. But it took me a while just to figure out, because there were some that I wanted to share that I couldn't get to right away, because I've got them alphabetized, but some of them are in a closet, and if I have to get to that box, I have to tear apart the whole closet, and then, the room is a wreck. So those are the 10 that I could get to and that I thought would be cool to share. So I hope you enjoyed them, hope you like some of those artists, and if you're not familiar with them, maybe you check them out, hope you like it. And I'll just take a brief moment to say thanks for all the support on the various music journalism endeavors that I have promoted here on YouTube. Recently, I had the opportunity to do liner notes for a Denise Williams box set, which was a real honor. And one thing that I got a lot of good feedback on was a review I wrote for Soul Tracks of the Stacey Lattisaw box set. And I didn't do liner notes for that, but the writer of those liner notes, Charles Waring, actually quoted a few times from an interview I did with Stacy back in 2010. And she's such a sweet lady. She really is an angel. To paraphrase, "Let me be your angel." So I was so happy that they came out with that box set because Young and in Love has never before been on CD, and now it finally is her first album from when she was age 12. But that's a whole nother discussion. Read the review. All right, thanks so much, and I hope that you have a great day, great night, great week whenever you're watching this. Thanks for the support. Bye.